So tell me, have you ever wondered what makes some leaders great? What could be their secret sauce? Now, these are some aspects that this book, The Greatness Guide, actually talks about. So why did I pick this book? Simply because it helps you to become a better version of yourself. It's an easy read. You can just flip the book, come to any page, and you can just absorb the point and let it sink in you. And of course, I love the thoughts of Robin Sharma, who loves to simplify things. So the Greatness Guide talks about 101 ways that you can reach your next level. It has crisp points and they are fairly easy to follow, provided you put your mind to it. Now I'm going to summarize the book, but I'm not going to be taking you across all the 101 points because that's going to take forever. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to share with you the top 25 points that really stood out, especially from a leadership perspective. And these points will help you become a better leader. So what I'm going to share is going to be a mix. It's going to be some of these powerful statements that he has made. Some I'm going to give it to you in the form of questions, thought-provoking questions, and I'm also going to spice it up from some real-life examples from my experience. So let's get started. The first, did you know there will never be a better you than you? Because he says, no better time than today to be the best you. I'm reminded of the Kabir's Doha that says, Kal kare so aaj kar, aaj kare so ab, right? So do it now because you are a great version of yourself. The second thing, leadership is about a way of being. So he says, hold yourself to world-class standards, take personal responsibilities, build beautiful relationships, and elevate others. The third thing he says, every person you meet knows at least one thing more than you do. So don't leave them without learning it. And I just had this experience last week. I met up with a client of mine who visited Chennai. He runs a speaker bureau. It was a casual conversation that we had to meet over coffee. And as we spoke, he told me something beautiful. He gave me ideas on how I can facilitate my workshops. I conduct workshops being a leadership coach, and he gave me some nice ideas which I can use it in facilitating my workshops. So that's why every person you meet, see what you can learn from them. The fourth thing is, tomorrow is incredible. He says, not everyone gets it. And I thought this is so profound. Because just last month, very unexpectedly, I lost a friend of mine, a CA classmate of mine. And it was so shocking that he's no more. So we are blessed that we are getting another day. So make your tomorrow really incredible. The fifth, what you think about and focus on grows. So instead of complaining, can we count our blessings and see how beautifully we can lead our lives? The next, leadership occurs during moments of challenge. And I want to share a real life example here with you. I was coaching one of the head of finance of a large corporate. Brilliant person, technically very sound. So the corporate was considering investment in a particular venture. Everybody wanted to go for it. But this person, based on his knowledge and experience, was not in favor of approving this investment. However, he did not have the courage to speak up and put his foot down and say no to it. And this was what he brought up in our coaching conversation. And we navigated our way through. And in the subsequent meeting, he spoke up with courage and in a very calm manner. And he said that though it looked really shiny, he said the risk was really high. And therefore, he did not want to approve of it. It took him a lot of courage to do that. But months later, when the market tanked in the segment, his no, putting his foot down very firmly, actually saved millions of dollars for the company, and now he's been promoted as a CFO. So that is why how you stand up during the times of challenge is what leadership is all about. The seventh thing, the importance of asking powerful questions. Let me again share an example of a leader that I was coaching, who was a very, very difficult client for me. Because he had a set beliefs, he had the set way of operations, and he wouldn't budge from any of those. However, one question really changed it for him. And what was that? I asked him, what would you like people to say about you after you have left this organization? And that really provoked a lot of thoughts in him. He reflected, he dived deep into it, and then he realized he needed to change his behavior and attitude towards people. Can I be a lot more kinder to my people and show more empathy to them, right? So this was something that brought about by just asking one powerful question. The eighth, what would it take for you to become a cool brand that would make others go, wow, about you? So this reminds me of what I've written in my book, Where's the Moolah, which talks about financial growth hacking for business profitability, where I have shared the 3W formula. What is that? The first is woo your customers. Woo your customers with irresistible offers. The second W is to wow your customers. Wow your customers by giving them great experience. And the third W is to win your customers by winning them over for a long-term period so that you don't have to go hunting for more clients. The ninth, you become what you think about. So what are you all thinking about right now? Think through that. The 10th, do you know what separates the best from the rest? It's habits. So what are the habits that you're following? And do you have the discipline to follow on to these habits? 11th, he says there are tons of choices, starting with our words. Choose them really well because that's how leaders do. So can you use tact and diplomacy in what you're saying? Especially even if you have to carry or convey a not so pleasant message. Is there a way you can be polite, nice, and say it in a kinder manner? Can you share feedback in a positive manner? Think about it. The 12th is he invites the reader to think. What's one thing I could do today that if I did it, both my personal and professional life would get to the next level of greatness? Isn't that good food for thought? The 13th is, he says, invite people into your professional and personal lives. Ensure they are people who inspire you. They are people who can uplift you and help you to become a better version of yourself. So, I'd like to ask you, who are the kind of people you're surrounded with? Think through that. The 14th, the quality of your life comes down to the quality of your relationships. So he talks about the first principles for great relationships. What are they? He says, be the first to say hello. Second, smile a lot. Third, he says, use people's name because people love hearing their own names. Fourth, when you're speaking, look into the eyes of the other person. Fifth, become a world-class listener. Sixth, he says, offer sincere compliments. When you appreciate people, how do you feel? How do you feel when you get appreciated, right? The same goes around. And lastly, he says, treat everyone royally. The 15th aspect is, leadership is about believing in others as well as believing in yourself, especially when no one else does. Next, do you know what's the best practice? The best practice is practice. He says, how else can you get better if you don't practice? So practice your art and craft so that you can become the best in what you do. The next, he says, no great life was ever built on the foundation of excuses. So stop making excuses. Here again, I'd like to share another example. I was once coaching a managing director, and he had a very difficult time with one of his immediate subordinates who was giving him excuses for every little thing. Even if this person was told by the managing director to move a bottle, something as simple as move it from your right to left, this person was to give him a lot of excuses instead of just doing the job, something as simple as that. And he was getting really frustrated about it. And we were deep diving and, looking at ways and means to manage such people. And ultimately, I met him, about maybe 6 months ago. And then he told me that I could not really manage this person anymore. And I had no choice but to fire this person. So stop giving excuses. This did not happen because this person didn't do the work, or, it's because this person came late. I did not receive my reports on time. Stop making excuses and instead focus on how you can make things work. The 18th, he says leadership has much to do with relationships. He says find out ways to connect with people you work with, ways to connect with your loved ones you live with, and even strangers. See how you can build the rapport and strike a connection. The 19th is we always have a choice. And we can always choose between what's right and what's wrong. So think through that, apply your ethics, your integrity, and take the right and the best decision. The 20th, the best leaders communicate their vision, they coach and develop their people and empower their teams. And that's why they are free to use their own creativity and get the results that's needed. So food for thought for you. How are you empowering your people? 21st, an interesting one, he says is, listening shows respect. Now, I want to share a funny incident out here. I was once addressing the leadership team of a corporate, and I was telling them the importance of leadership through listening. Listening is a great trait for leaders, and how great leaders are great listeners. Now they heard me out. The managing director was also, part of the audience. And once I spoke about listening, he tells me, and then he looks at his team and he says, that's why I tell you all have to listen to me and, obey my words and do whatever I tell you. Now, listening is not really obeying. Listening is more about paying attention to what people have to say. Right? And what they actually mean, because by just listening, you're giving space for people to come up with their ideas, talk their mind out, and that's a great source for innovative ideas. So are you great listeners? In fact, many clients ask me, how can I become a better listener? And this is what I have to share. Pay attention to what they're saying. Ask open-ended questions. Understand and clarify what they're really meaning. Be non-judgmental, because once you bring in the judgments, people are not going to open up and it does not create the psychological safety. 5th, if to reflect their feelings. Now imagine if somebody is telling you, they had a bad day or a bad challenge or something they're really low about. You're not going to be showing your enthusiasm at that point in time. You empathize with them. You being there with them for them, and that's how you reflect their feelings. And lastly, paraphrase and summarize what they're saying. And these 6 things at a high level will help you become better listeners. The 22nd is a lovely point. He says the main competition is not for the share of wallet. What is it? It's for the share of your customers' hearts. Because once you're able to win your customers' hearts, the share of wallet would automatically follow. The one thing that separates leaders from its followers are those who can lead and speak openly, honestly, and with courage. The last 2 are really brilliant. The last but one is, the fruit never falls far from the tree. And your children will become a lot more like you than you may even believe. It says, remember, what are you teaching your children? You're teaching them, and you're showing, you're leading by example, showing the kind of lives we lead and the examples that we are setting. How proud are you about your children? Are your children your priority? Because he says, remember, leadership begins at home. The last one. What body of work will you create over your life so that the generations that follow will know that you have been here? So he's talking about the legacy. He says greatness comes when you create something with your life that's not only bigger than you, but it outlasts you. So what is the kind of greatness that you wish to create? So my friends, to conclude, I would recommend not to read this book at one go, right? But do it in bits and pieces. Rejoice the essence bit by bit so that, those points can actually sink into your head. These are like really short points. So just probably 1 point a day, or, as and when you get time, allow yourself to absorb the essence of it and see how you can implement it in your lives. So see what resonates the most with you and what are the changes you would like to bring about in your life so that you can become a greater version of yourself. Could there have been something better in the book? Now what I think is, while it has many good things, it may sometimes come across as a bit preachy or like a sermon. And also, probably all the 101 ways may or may not resonate with you, but some of them are like really outstanding, like I mentioned. So see what you would like to pick and implement in your life. So pick up this book if you want to become a better version of yourself and be a greater version of yourself. So that is the gist of the book that I wanted to share.